folks. Alright, no one here at the moment, but this is for the benefit of everyone who watches my VOD, which I've just learnt means video on demand. Today what I'm going to be drawing is a tree stump. Now it doesn't sound too exciting, and that wouldn't be if that's all it was, but it's more than that. It's an evil, corrupted stump that sits in the middle of my evil, corrupted swamp of souls. And what it does is it has, years ago, had a soul jar that sat on it. The soul jar had a powerful spirit. These lizard men, they leave them all over the corrupted swamp to spread the corruption. They torture these spirits, put them in soul jars and hang them up around the swamp, but for this one they left it on a tree stump. Now, that tree stump over many years has become a twisted and corrupted thing with a root system that spreads throughout its grove. And you see that grove, it's a large area, about 90 feet I reckon I'll make it, maybe 120, of just swampy, soft ground, nothing growing on it. And so, why would the party want to interact with this stump? So there could be a number of reasons. Maybe they had a friend, an adventurer, or a family member that disappeared around this area, and they're investigating why. Maybe there's a necromancer that wants that soul jar for the powerful spirit trapped in it, and so hires the party to take it out of the stump. Be a number of other reasons. Maybe the party just wants it, because with these soul jars you can actually sell them to Heron folk monks who are like a rehabilitation centre for tortured souls, and they meditate and try to bring peace to these tortured spirits, and they pay good coin. They make good coin because they've been selling a rice wine whiskey that they sell for a good profit. What I'm using here is the smudge tool. I often just push stuff around with it quite a bit. And I also like to use special brushes for it. This guy in particular, you get some nice effects. You can start to block in a bit of grass there. And all I'm looking to do at this stage is just block it in. That's what I tell my brain, so I don't get overwhelmed with thinking I've got an enormous picture I have to do. I've told my brain today all I'm going to do is block it in. And my brain trusts me on that, and often I'll lie to it and carry on and get caught up. But at this stage, the best way to start a picture, I find, is just to tell my brain, let's just do a blockout. Let's just have a bit of fun, come up with a concept, a shape, and that's all we're going to do. So that's what I'm working on at the moment. Now, you're probably asking yourself, well, that sounds pretty easy, Matt. Why don't you just walk up to this stump, take the soul jar, which I have to draw a soul jar that's sort of been enveloped over time by the stump and is held within it. But why don't you just walk up, grab the soul jar, leave, and make yourself a good 200 gold. That's because this stump has actually taken on the soul of that soul jar and is a living, breathing thing that wants to protect itself. And to do that, it's got this intricate network of roots that spread all throughout the grove under its swampy, muddy surface. And those roots do one of two things. The first thing they do is they can grab an adventurer, someone who's walking through the grove to get to the stump. They can reach up and try grab him using like grapple check, athletics versus athletics, what have you. And if they grab you, they try drag you down into the mud. And you get to fight it. You can do damage to the roots, but it does a lot of crushing damage, and if it gets your head under the surface, then you take a lot of suffocation damage too. And that's happened to quite a few creatures and adventurers that have wandered into this grove already. And that's where the second part of the stump comes in, and how it uses its roots. And it does that by pulling up the adventurers that it had already killed, over months, years, and pulls up these undead protectors that are given life through the root system. And these things almost act like grotesque puppets that the stump can move around at great speed through its roots, lifting them up, throwing them around. I've said it raises 1d4 of these things on each of its turns, with a bonus action to try grab an adventurer that's within its range in the grove. And what I've actually done with this root system is I've come up with a heap of random adventurers and creatures that it holds in its roots that it can bring to its protection. There's like old adventuring wizards. Maybe this guy here still has his long wispy beard, even though he's now a very bare skeleton. And they still have some of their abilities they had when they were alive. Like this guy can still fire off cantrips. I've had adventurers like maybe this guy is an armoured dwarf skeleton with a huge battle axe. And yeah, he's got his roots as well. And maybe he's got a beard too. And maybe an old corroded steel helmet. Whoops. That shines. But they're not just long dead adventurers that have been captured by the swamp, by the stump. There's things like massive giant crocs just wrapped in these root systems. Maybe its tail comes out here. Still doing its huge vicious bite attack. I actually had, when this one's raised, I didn't have them as giant crocs. I had them as normal crocs. But I had two of them raised at the same time. Put this guy in a separate layer because I'll push him back. So they act almost as these huge pincer arms that try bite and grab hold of adventurers. Now what I'm still doing is I'm just blocking. I'm not worrying about getting the details right at this point. I'll probably grab some crocodile reference when I tackle these two guys. If I have both of them, might be overkill to be trying to show too much. But yeah, he'll be well faded back, that one, to show he's sort of off in the distance. And I might bring this guy to be the foreground guy. And he can have, most of the grotesque undead detail. Maybe his hands are going to be glowing with as he's ready to unleash a firebolt. And the way I see it, that stump would be well back, but I still want to show off the stump in this picture and not just be a little dot on the horizon, so I'm going to keep it pretty tight here. And yeah, we'll have sort of an intricate, these roots will be wrapped around almost all of them, maybe even his arms, and that's what moves them and drives them. That could be cool. So he's almost in this web of roots, and yeah, we'll give him sort of, again, just keeping it rough, getting the layout sorted. You're probably wondering, where's his eyes? What's going on up here, Matt? And at this point, I don't know. It's very blocked out. But I want this to feel like a skull. You know that look where they have hair still on a skull? I want the beard to be the hair still on a skull. Oh. And you're all probably seeing very different things at the moment where he's looking, and that's alright, because I'm not establishing that yet. And yeah, I quite like these elongated arms a bit. They're a bit freaky, so we can get away with it too, because these corrupted soul jars, the corruption in the swamp twists and warps everything it deals with. So I probably want to do more with this stump too, to make it feel more twisted and warped. Yeah. So I might lengthen that. Have this root system coming here, and I'll probably have it, swamp ground over it, so you're just getting hints of these roots reaching out. Do some cool swamp ground there. I'll separate these elements, because what I like to do early on is move stuff around till it feels good. So let's get him his own layer and go to the trusty warp tool, and I might just give him a bit more curl. And again, I'm not too worried about it looking quite right at the moment. It's more just to get the shapes looking good. Let's play with this stump for a bit, because he's the main guy, even though people are just going to think he's a stump. And yeah, I still got to get that soul jar, so I might put a couple of holes in there that are shining a glow. And that'll be quite cool, because then when I do the lighting of the scene, I'll make it kind of dark, creepy and spooky with just the light there, and whatever colour is glowing out of that soul jar, I'll have that same colour coming out of the skull eyes and the mouth and stuff, just to show there's a tie there. Now, part of the lore I had as well Let's get a bit of, start to establish maybe where a bit of light's coming from. Part of the lore I had in my description of this was there was an axe sticking out of the stump. Standard wood axe. In fact, what I'm going to do is I'll do that on a separate layer too, so I can move it around, play with shapes. That sort of gives a hint. If a party member gets close enough to pick up the axe and start using it, it can. Because what I'm going to do is make this stump basically immune to magic and piercing damage, just to stop people saying, oh, I'm just going to stand at the edge of the grove here and just shoot it till it breaks and the soul jar falls out. No. Only ways to break it open are a bludgeoning and maybe slashing damage. And the stump's not too tough. The tough bit is getting past all these undead puppets that it's going to raise to try stop you, while also trying to grab you to turn into an undead puppet eventually by dragging you in to the ground. So that's my axe again, nothing too fancy, and it's very side on at the moment, so I'd probably want to play with that. But that could be quite good, and yeah, you just use a distort tool maybe to pull the axe handle closer to you, beckoning, saying, hey, come grab me and I'll help you out. Now I don't know if that breaks it up too much, because I do like the shape of the stump there. Okay, let's see if we can, maybe this is curled because it's corrupted and curling around the soul jar, so everything about it. I can have maybe a branch there. Get started. Yeah. Okay, so that's a good start, and yeah, for giving it depth and everything, I'll be pushing these guys on their own layer and just pushing them back. Let's fix up evil wizard, evil cantrip wizard. Zoil can cast now, and yeah, we just want to figure out a bit of his. We want him to feel a bit like a puppet. Oh yeah, you see I'm starting to get something here where he's twisting nicely. I still want him to have sort of his old robes, really tattered and rotten, but maybe still on him, just to let you know that this was once a person. And yeah, maybe when you get to finally loot this stump, if you defeat it, you can even loot some of these adventurers for gear and equipment they carried on them before the stump dragged them down, because the stump doesn't care about what potions and stuff you were carrying. Stump, well, yeah, that's the other thing. The stump is, of course, using its root system to feed itself off these long dead corpses. He's picked these bones clean, but some of them could be almost newly dead, zombie-like. Yeah. Imagine hearing about, say, someone from your village who disappeared, and you've gone to investigate, and you found out they started to hunt soul jars to make a bit of coin, because it can be profitable if you find these hangs, sell them on to the heron folk. And so yeah, you're following this rumour, you found out they were hunting soul jars, you talk around, maybe a few prospectors say, oh yeah, old Henry, he was he was going to try the Stump. He had heard rumours of a stump that held a soul jar in it. We all avoid that place, of course. Lots of prospectors have gone missing there. And we told him not to go. But he was adamant. He needed the coin for his family. Oh my god, it gets worse for his family. His abandoned family. And so now you get a guide to take you out to the stump to see if you can find old Henry. And at some point, one of you will probably walk towards that stump. Not fly, because I don't let players fly. My campaign just did a video on that. Already noticed I got one dislike on it. Someone very pro flying didn't like my reasoning. And yeah, suddenly there's these roots, these guys start popping up. It could start off as any of these old adventurers. I've got Elven Rangers, old Elven Rangers skeletons that pop up, shooting at you. I've got one that the roots have just gathered up a heap of bones and skeletons, rib cages and everything, which I'll probably draw in here actually, to make it like a giant morning star that it just flings around the battlefield, crushing people. But at some point when you're fighting, oh no, old Henry pops up, newly dead, maybe still with a shocked expression on his face, and you have to defeat this stump so you can return old Henry back for a decent burial, and maybe even give the family a little bit of the coin you made when you finally did sell that soul jar to the Heron folk monks. We're doing a good deed. They're trying to, because these soul jars, they were just tortured into madness to become these evil corrupted things. So the Heron folk try to rehabilitate them through leaving these soul jars in their meditation chambers, where they try to bring peace so that these souls can finally pass on, get released out of the soul jar and move on with their lives. Right, I'm going to give this guy some, again, very rough. I'll get some proper skeleton reference when I'm ready, and to start detailing. But yeah, I like to get my reference after, otherwise you get bound by the reference and you try draw the reference, whereas I prefer just to looks like he's got a massive tongue sticking out, where I prefer to draw my shapes and everything, get my pose right, and then use the reference not to recreate it, but to help me solve little problems like what goes on with the skull around this area. He's looking, you'll see he's looking a little lost, not too terrifying, so I want to make him scary now, which I think I'll do by tilting his head down and his eyes looking evil. So there's a couple ways you can do that. I play a lot with the liquefy tool. Does that show up? Sometimes these extra tabs, it doesn't look like it shows up for you guys. But hang on, I'll pull it down. I have to figure out, maybe it's just, I just record the window rather than the application. And yeah, give him the angry eyes. Don't know how a skull gets angry eyes, but we'll figure something out. Again, everything gets warped and corrupted and twisted, so these skulls don't have to be too anatomically correct. There we go, there we go. Okay, his hands are pretty big, I'll probably knock them back a bit. That's cool, that's cool. And what's going on over here? I want this one to look more like it's about to blast the party. So maybe, why are you to do? So maybe it's more this. And you can see I'm running out of room. But luckily, I'm still playing with shapes here, so I can move stuff around. And he might just become more foreground, like this. And I like to use the smudge tool. I find it a satisfying way to work. See, I use it as an eraser here to move stuff around, but then I can use it to draw as well, so I'm not switching between pen and eraser, which I'm sure is just a shortcut button, but I don't learn shortcuts. Which I should. I just never have. Don't like the hand there, so let's push it around here. Yeah, we'll probably just keep him just trying to look cool rather than do anything. Maybe his head's too big. Here we go. I could put a wizard's hat on him, it's an option. And I'll do a little bit of detailing here. Again, I could do reference for roots, especially roots wrapped around things. But it's a long way away. First of all, it's just blocking out stuff. And these roots, yeah, they could still be maybe sticking in other parts. Just try stuff out, and then if you don't like it, do that to it. So I love the smudge tool too. You don't really have to keep pushing undo. You just carry on with your workflow. Change it around. Okay, let's have a think about the ground. How's my blocking out going? Yeah. So we'll keep this grey. We will just start to establish a midground and a foreground and possibly the background. The background's going to be quite foggy, scary and easy. So I won't worry too much about this. These guys, these background guys, will be in the fog, so they should look pretty ominous. This guy, oops, where'd you come from? This guy will be the sort of center point, and then yeah, you'll have this ominous glowing stump. It needs a lot of work, first to admit it, but it's not going to be as prominent. And yeah, I'm not sure about this crocodile, but we'll do some work and make a cool looking crocodile when we're ready. And then I'm quite a fan of the dodge and burn tool. People probably get told off a lot for using the dodge and burn tool in their drawings, and for the most part it's good advice, but when you start working in grayscale I think it's fine. It's just it really mucks up your colours, especially the burn tool when you're dealing with colours. It's better to paint over. with better colours than using the burn tool, like maybe a multiply layer or an overlay layer, to make sure your colours stay strong and not get all muddied. And you're looking, Matt, that's a mess. That's because I use that soft brush tool, which also can look like a mess quite a bit. But again, I get back to my smudge and just find it really satisfying. You can create all sorts of shapes. I don't know how many people do this method, to be honest. Let me know if you do. Most people, I think, struggle to paint in all the right details. Whereas I like the smudge tool because lots of happy accidents, and you can play with it a lot. You're not, if you try painting all the details, you get tied to them. Whereas here, I'll just push stuff around till feels good. And yeah, you can already see I'm establishing a bit of depth and shape here in the ground with light and shadow. And what I'll probably have is, to make the ground feel wet, there'll be the soul jar glow coming out of these holes, and you'll see it along the ground, the light, as the reflections are caught off the... I should be able to make the ground feel quite wet quite easily with stuff like that, I think. And maybe even slight reflections of these guys. And yeah, you can make it even feel a little bit grassy with the old smudge tool. And I might even do a bit of this to show grass pushed up along this little ridge line I've created here, which is pretty cool. Pretty cool. And yeah, we can have a bit more of it there. Now, if you want to learn more about this world, I do a video blog as I develop it. And I'll be talking about this adventure next. Yeah, I sometimes supply adventures so people can play them and test them for me before they go into our big Kickstarter project we've been working on for a year or two. It's called the Swamp of Souls, and yeah, if you go to my YouTube channel, you'll find a link to be notified when that Kickstarter's finally ready. But the way I'm approaching it is I want almost everything done before we launch the Kickstarter. I've got this huge fear of doing something and then having to do it. I've seen so many people do it on Kickstarter where they promise something, have hardly made anything, and then have to spend 2 or 3 years of their life trying to make this thing while angry people are asking where the product is that they've bought. I watched one guy do it recently. God, he was doing a graphic novel and hadn't got very far with it, and did a Kickstarter and reached his Kickstarter goal, which was only like $5,000 or something, maybe less. And for the past year or two, I keep getting notifications of how it's going, but there's no way he's made money on that. And I think he was, he keeps changing and bringing in other artists to try help him finish it, and shambles. So yeah, me and Lena are going to make sure we're on top of it before we even start the Kickstarter. And we've got a lot to figure out too, because we do want to... Oh, sorry, what I'm doing here is painting in some grayscale light. I'm going to pretend that the light source is coming from this way. for now, and it's going to be a really dull light because I want the focus to be on the tree stump, soul jar glow, and the glow of these creatures. But at this point I thought maybe I'll establish a little bit of lighting, but I'll probably push it right back once the fogs and the darkness hit. It's always good to have an idea of a light source. I quite like this ridge line because it's coming a bit straight at you, but if we curve it, it'll just have a really nice shape. Like if we curve it this way and we could establish some foreground grass and stuff there, just to make it feel cool. Yeah. Of course, I started out with blacks, which I don't think is a great idea. You should usually go like a mid-level grey, which is easy enough. I just select it and I'll paint in. So grey about there. And then I can use my beloved burn tool to just establish and dodge, but let's go burn first, just to maybe establish on the dark side of it. And then I might even try the dodge tool just to see if I get any coolness out of it. Look at that, it's pretty cool. Yeah, it's starting to take shape. You can start to see a mood establishing there. I will put in a background colour because it's not going to be that white. It'll probably be a lightish, it's not, I will colour this, so it's probably going to be like a lightish green or blue or something like that. If you've got a fog, I think you usually want it lighter along the ground line. That can go there. If you, whoops, burn. So you can see my process is pretty simple to start off. Don't like starting out in colour because that's just a lot of problems you end up trying to solve early that you don't have to. It's not what you want to solve. At this point, the colour stuff comes later once you've got your values right, and this is all about values and stuff like that. You can see I'm playing a bit with this background, probably more than I should at this stage, because I'm sure I'm going to push it back just to blend in these background figures. But not tied to anything, folks. And maybe if I can bring this down, it helps the Stump's light side pop more. And kind of helps draw the eye to the stump as well. You know, we artists say all sorts of things like that, but it's usually after we've drawn it that we say what we've done, pretending that we've explained why we did something. That's kind of good. It's a bit dark, that background, so I can do another very soft brush over the top to push it back. Well, low opacity. There we go. Okay, and of course now we'll play with that axe a bit later. It's just a placeholder for now. Deal a bit more with the guy at the front to get his values right. And I'm just trying to see if anyone's actually watching. I don't think so. It says one viewer. But I believe that's me watching myself. Which is kind of funny. Okay, back to this guy. Now, we do want to play with his colours as well. We'll go low opacity, which is already there, so we can clean him out. And I might blend him already, happy with that. And then start to establish, use the burn tool again to establish a bit of a shape. Bit of a shape. Bit of a shape. And yeah, I can, with these roots, I can start to figure out how they all work. Like he might go there, and he comes off there, and this bit goes under there, and we've got some of this, so he's like a big bit, and yeah, we could put some of that there. Just playing. Start to think about maybe some touches of highlights, especially on that skull. We're going to have probably one strong highlight on that skull, maybe where the eye socket is, about here, and a nose socket about there. And yeah, have his here, and I might even have wispy hair flying around here. Way wispier than that. Just a hint of it there, which I'll work on more. And yeah, I want to get that tattered robe vibe. The beard's far too solid at the moment. These are going to be his bony hands, so we'll get a bit of white and translucency in those. Can play with that background to help this part pop a little bit. And yeah, root system here. Though I'll probably have tattered robe coming over that. And lighting there. And let's have, I do want this to be broken up because grasses and swamp ground will go over it. And yeah, I'll push, whoops, I'll push this here, just cheat the background a bit to help highlight things. I did lose that finger of his with my latest smudge, so we'll give him another finger. There we go. Pew pew pew. Whoops. My smudges are getting a bit out of control, but I hardly ever undo, I just keep smudging. And we're losing his beard here as well, but we'll have to Okay, and we've got a fairly solid start for a blockout. But the elements I want to work on, everything will look very different by the time I've finished, I can promise you that. But for now, I've got a direction, and what I'll tell my brain next time is, okay, we'll just start detailing the foreground guy. Maybe this little area. Maybe even, just, whoops. Oh goodness. Maybe just this little area here. Work on that, make that cool. Because yeah, this will be the part most in contrast. And everything else will be pushed back with swampy fog, ground, drizzle, and just hint this guy back here, this stump. As I said, he'll have a sickly, orangey, pale light. Might look quite warm at the moment, but yeah, he'll probably have a bit of this going on, which will spill down onto here, and then these guys will have the same sort of glows and stuff in their eyes. Yeah, good start. I'm going to leave it there. I'm not going to lie to my brain this time. We did a block out. Now take a break. Might come back to some of this tonight or carry on Monday, New Zealand time. Thank you for watching, whoever got this far, and hopefully see you in the next session. Bye.